So there was an interview with on ABC yesterday, David Muir and Donald Trump. And it said just everything. It said everything about the press and not just about the orange man bad silliness that we can't get enough of. It just never ends. But also the sloppy sentimentality that the press plays to, hoping to make you afraid. That is what they do. They use sentimentality to make you afraid. But here was what Trump had to say, and it really is a remarkable statement that he makes, because if you can just hear what he's saying for a minute instead of hearing it being said by Trump. This is cut number 7.
I'm viewing our great citizens of this country, to a certain extent and to a large extent, as warriors. They're warriors. We can't keep our country closed. We have to open our country. One day they said, we have to close our country. Well, now it's time to open it up. And you know what? The people of our country are warriors, and I'm looking at it. I'm not saying anything is perfect. And yes, will some people be affected? Yes. Will some people be affected badly? Yes. But we have to get our country open, and we have to get it open soon.
Now, if that had been Barack Obama speaking, the press would be in tears at the courage and leadership that he was displaying. You have to open up. We can't stay shut down. We cannot have 30 million people unemployed. It cannot be. We cannot have the engine of democracy, the engine of the economy die. It just can't happen. We have to open up. Cautiously, carefully, always taking care to save the Klavan. Keep that first it should be the first words in your mouth when you wake up and the last words before you go to sleep. Save the Klavan. But still, we have to open up, which means we have to be brave. We have to be warriors. We have to do what he's saying. And he's honest about it. He's saying there's a cost. There's going to be a cost. And instead, we get this, and remember the point of the shutdown. The point of the shutdown was not to save every human life on Earth and end death forever. The point of the shutdown was to make sure the first spike was not so bad that the hospitals were overwhelmed. All the people saying we shouldn't have done it, they didn't know. Nobody knew what was going to happen. Nobody knew what was going to happen. They had to make a decision in the dark. That was the decision that almost everybody made. So we have to assume that we would have made the same decision. Now the hospitals have not been overwhelmed, and suddenly they're saying, well, we can't let anybody die. People are going to die. This is a disease. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy, but we have to be warriors and we have to open up. And Donald Trump is the leader here, and he's doing an excellent job at doing that. So, when we talk about warriors, I'm going to start with this story about a Dallas salon owner. She reopened her business on April 24th, and this is in Texas. And she was defying a state and county order for non-essential establishments to remain closed because of the pandemic, right? A judge, she was called up before a judge. They gave her a summons and she tore it up. She has definitely been, what can I call it? It's been civil disobedience. She's called up before a judge, Judge Eric Moy, and he says to her that you have to apologize. If you apologize and you say that you understood that you were going against the rule of law, I'll let you go. But if not, you're going to be punished. Here's the judge telling her what she has to do. This is cut 4.
You now see the error of your ways and understand that the society cannot function where one's own belief in a concept of liberty permits you to flaunt your disdain for the rulings of duly elected officials. That you owe an apology to the elected officials whom you disrespected by flagrantly ignoring and in one case defiling their orders, which you now know obviously apply to you, and that you represent to this court that you will today cease operation of your salon.
So that's the judge telling her the statement she has to make. Her name is Shelley Luther, who owned the salon. This is her response, cut 5.
Judge, I would like to say that I have much respect for this court and laws, and that I've never been in this position before. And it's not some place that I want to be. But I have to disagree with you, sir, when you say that I'm selfish, because feeding my kids is not selfish. I have hairstylists that are going hungry because they'd rather feed their kids. So, sir, if you think the law is more important than kids getting fed, then please go ahead with your decision, but I am not going to shut the salon.
They ought to build a statue to her. They should build a statue to her. And you know what? I'm not going to come down that hard on the judge. I had a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of conservatives calling him a fascist and all this stuff. No, I understand each person has to fight his corner. The judge's corner is the law. I mean, I've been saying this about Anthony Fauci. People writing me, oh, he's a monster because he's, because he cares too much about human life and not enough about the economy, and he's being a fearmonger and all this stuff. No, Fauci has his role to play. It's Trump's job and Pence's job to make the decisions with him as their medical expert. He has a role to play. So I'm not going to hit the judge too hard. Not yet. Until after she made that statement, he sentenced her to a week in jail and fined her at least $3,500. Now that is a mistake. That's a mistake. He could have said, you can't violate the rule of law. I'm going to say, don't do that again. He could have wagged his finger at it. That would have been the American thing to do. But he didn't. He really went after her and he dropped the book on her. He sent her away for a week for opening her salon, for doing business so her workers could eat, so she could eat, so she could feed her kids. Now, look, this is the thing that comes out, personality comes out in a crisis. And this is the thing that has been allowed to come out by Donald Trump's federalism. It has been allowed to come out by Donald Trump's federalism, which is why you haven't heard me, singing the Constitution song and saying, our rights are being violated, because they're being violated in certain places. We get to see who is doing what. And this is a judge who really went over the top, and he did the wrong thing. He did the wrong thing, but that's the voice of everyday courage, and that's the voice we're going to need, and that's the voice of the warriors that Donald Trump is talking about. Now, warriors versus wimps. Let's hear the voice of the wimps. I want to just play for you a little more of this interview with David Muir, and listen to I just want you to hear the logic, right? The logic that the guy is selling. This is going to be cut too. This is the logic he's selling and the way he's trying to make Trump look like a heartless, evildoer if he reopens the country.
How many deaths and how much suffering are you willing to accept to get back where you want to be? Do you see it that way? Do you believe that's the reality we're facing, that lives will be lost to reopen the country?
It's possible there will be some, because you won't be locked into an apartment or a house or whatever it is. But at the same time, we're going to practice social distancing. We're going to be washing hands. We're going to be doing a lot of the things that we've learned to do over the last period of time. And we have to get our country back. People are dying the other way, too. When you look at what's happened with drugs, it goes up. When you look at suicides, take a look at what's going on. People are losing their jobs. We have to bring it back, and that's what we're doing.
The president, you heard there, acknowledging the potential cost in lives as he tries to reopen the country. That was significant from the president tonight.
Yeah, David, this is a pretty striking admission. Just think about it. He says that they're still going to move ahead with reopening the country, but that there will indeed be lives lost.
See, they're not just being children. They're playing you for children. Of course, there are going to be lives lost, and of course, there's going to be spikes. All of this is the truth. This is the truth. Now, what happens when you tell children the truth? They don't like it. They cry and they whine because they think, maybe you're a god and you have some way of changing everything. Trump has no way of changing the fact that this is a disease. They keep talking to him as if, they say to him, they keep comparing the death toll to Vietnam. We didn't have to be in Vietnam. That was a choice we made. And you can say, what are you getting for that death toll? You can say you made a choice. What are you getting for it? We didn't have a choice that people were going to die here. This is a disease that came from China. It was released on us. They lied to us. They told us all these lies. We had to react to it. We reacted to it. We have to reopen the country. It's ridiculous. And this is, no one has ever done this before. There have been terrible, terrible flus and pandemics and diseases. No one's ever just shut down the country like this. Again, I'm not making a judgment because personally, I don't think we can make a judgment yet on whether it was the right or wrong thing to do. I don't actually think we have enough facts for that. I know that some guy on Twitter has enough facts, but I don't think real human beings with actual knowledge who are looking at all the facts, I don't think we've gathered enough information yet. I don't even think we know how many people have the disease or what it would have been like had we not done it yet. So I don't think we can judge whether it was the right thing to do or not, but we can judge whether we would have done it because everybody did it. And you can point to Sweden, but again, Sweden really in some ways did the same thing. They just did it in a different way because they have a different kind of more homogenous country. As I say, everyone there is named Sven. But this idea that because Trump has to pay a price to do what has to be done, that somehow it's his fault. It's like that somehow we all should bemoan it. They're selling you cowardice. They're selling you cowardice. That's what cowardice is. Cowardice is not facing the thing that has to be done because of the price. That's what cowardice is, right? You have to do something, you have to get it done, but there could be a price. It could be a terrible risk, but you don't want to take the risk. So you don't do it. You don't do what has to be done because you're afraid. That's what cowardice is. And that's what Trump is telling us we can't do. When he says we're warriors, they say, no, we've got to be wimps. And let me just remind you again, I know I keep going back to this Biden thing, but this Biden thing with the sex scandal, it's not about, I keep saying this, it's not about Biden. It's not about a sex scandal. It's about the press. It's about the coverage. We now know that everything they said to us, all their hysteria was a lie. And so we know that this hysteria is also a lie. Everything is tickety-boo, including the massive growth of the Daily Wire YouTube channel. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and catch all our future videos right here on YouTube.